Hey guys, welcome back to Alleviated Soul. Today we are continuing with the next chapter of King Anga, Vena and Prthu Mahārāja, Canto 4. To impede King Prthu's great sacrifice, Indra has already adopted many false orders of sannyasa that will destroy the clear path of religious life in the future. If you oppose him any further, he will continue to misuse his power and thus introduce even more bogus systems of religion. Therefore, my dear Brahmanas, I request that there be only 99 horse sacrifices performed by Mahārāja Prthu. Then turning to Prthu Mahārāja, Lord Brahma said, O king, since you are a great devotee and thus thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what is the use in performing any more sacrifices? Let there be good fortune for both you and King Indra, for you are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Indra is not different from you in that sense, you should not become angry with him. My dear king, do not become agitated because your sacrifices were impeded by providence. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, then the more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of materialistic thought. Also, please consider the purpose of your incarnation. Because the irreligious principles created by Indra will become the mothers of so many unwanted pseudo-religions, I request you to put a stop to your sacrifices immediately. After receiving this advice, King Prthu abandoned his eagerness for performing sacrifices. Then he took his Avabhrata bath, marking the completion of the yajna. At this time, Lord Vishnu, who was very satisfied with Mahārāja Prthu's performance of 99 Ashvametha yajnas, appeared at the sacrificial arena. Accompanied by King Indra and all the demigods, great sages and his personal associates, headed by Nanda and Sunanda. Addressing Mahārāja Prthu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear King, Indra, who had disturbed the execution of your 100 horse sacrifices, has come here with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, you should excuse him. One who is advanced in intelligence becomes eager to perform welfare activities for others, and so he is considered to be the best among human beings. By always remembering that the material body is different from the soul, such persons are never malicious toward others. My dear King Prthu, the devotee who is connected with me in a relationship of intense friendship and affection and thus is liberated from all material contamination is fully satisfied. Due to his perfect knowledge and equal vision, such a devotee never becomes agitated by material happiness or distress. Therefore, please keep yourself always equipoised and treat others equally while executing your duties as a king. If you continue to protect your subjects according to the teachings of the Acharyas in the cyclic succession, they will become very happy and love you without reservation. My dear king, you will very soon attain the good fortune of meeting the great liberated sages, the 4 Kumaras. Now, because I am very pleased with your elevated qualities, I request you to ask me for a benediction that will fulfill your desire. Indra was standing nearby, and when he heard Lord Vishnu's speech, he became very ashamed to think of how abominably he had acted. With great repentance, he fell down before Mahārāja Prthu to touch his lotus feet. Being a magnanimous Vaishnava, King Prthu had already given up all malice, and so he quickly picked up Indra and embraced him with great affection. Thereafter, Prthu Mahārāja very reverently worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, and as he did so, his devotional ecstasy increased. Although the Lord was preparing to depart, he did not immediately do so. Because of being greatly attracted by the pure behavior of his unalloyed devotee, King Prathu's eyes were full of tears and his voice faltered due to ecstasy. And thus he could not see the Lord very distinctly, nor could he properly speak. Therefore, he simply embraced the Lord within his heart while standing before him with folded hands. Lord Vishnu resides upon one of the planets within the universe, and at first did not allow his feet to touch the ground due to playing the part of one of the demigods. However, after becoming fully satisfied with King Prathu's behavior and character, the Lord at last placed his feet upon the earth. It appeared that Lord Vishnu had to rest his hand upon Garuda's shoulder to keep his balance, as if accustomed to standing upon earthly ground. Mahārāja Prthu could understand that the Lord acted in this way due to affection for him, and thus, while contemplating his great fortune, various ecstatic symptoms became manifest in his body. Finally, after wiping away the tears from his eyes, King Prthu prayed as follows: "My dear Lord, you are capable of bestowing all kinds of benediction upon your worshippers. Therefore, why should an actually learned person ask you for the benefits that are enjoyed by the bewildered conditioned souls, or even the liberation of merging into your existence where there is no chance to receive the nectar of your lotus feet? Instead, I wish to have the benediction of possessing at least 1 million ears so that I may be able to properly hear about your glories from the mouths of pure devotees. My dear Lord, if Lakshmi happens to become angry with me for intruding upon her service, I hope you will support me, since you are very much inclined to help the poor. Even if Lakshmi goes away due to anger, I think that there will be no harm, because you are self-sufficient and so you can easily do without her. My dear Lord, I am your unalloyed devotee, and so it is very bewildering that you are trying to allure me with facilities for material enjoyment. Only these persons who are bewildered by your illusory energy and thus have forgotten their real position desire material happiness in terms of society, friendship, and love. Such benedictions cannot be suitable for pure devotee. Therefore, as the Supreme Father, please bestow upon me whatever you actually consider to be in my best interest." The Lord was very pleased that Prthu Mahārāja did not ask for any material benediction, and so he congratulated him by saying, "My dear King, may you always remain blessed by constant engagement in my devotional service. As you have already very intelligently explained, it is only by such purity of purpose that one can cross over the insurmountable illusory energy, Maya. You should always be very careful to painstakingly execute my orders, for anyone who faithfully carries out my instructions will meet with good fortune in all circumstances." Thereafter, King Prthu worshipped all the demigods, great sages, and other living entities who had come to his sacrificial arena by offering them sweet words and as much wealth as possible. Finally, after Mahāraja Prthu once again worshipped Lord Vishnu with great respect, the Lord took his leave and then returned to his own abode after having captivated the minds of everyone, especially the king and all the priests. After the Lord's departure, King Prthu offered his obeisances and then returned to his capital, which had been very lavishly decorated to receive him. Water scented with sandalwood and aguru had been sprinkled all over, and throughout the city there were decorations of unbroken fruit, flowers, weighted grains, minerals, and lamps. At every crossing there were pillars made of banana trees and betel nut branches. As the king entered the city gate, the citizens received him with auspicious articles such as lamps, flowers, and yogurt. He was also greeted by many beautiful unmarried girls that were decorated with very costly ornaments. As Mahāraja Prthu entered his royal palace, the priest chanted the Vedic mantras while conch shells and drums sounded and professional reciters offered prayers. Both the important and common citizens welcomed the king, and in return he blessed them according to their desires. And yet, in spite of such an opulent reception, the king was not affected in the least. Thus, with an equipoised mind, he continued ruling the earth, consisting of 7 islands, without rival, and only the Brahmanas and members of the Achyuta Gotra, which is the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, the devotees, could disobey his irrevocable orders. Mahāraja Prthu resided in the land between the Ganga and the Yamuna, and due to his incomparable opulence, it appeared as if he were enjoying his destined fortune so as to diminish the results of his past pious activities. Sometime later on, Mahāraja Prthu began the performance of a great sacrifice in which all the foremost sages, demigods, and saintly kings assembled. After having worshipped all the respectable guests according to their respective positions, when King Prthu stood up in the midst of the assembly, it appeared as if the full moon had arisen amongst the stars. Mahāraja Prthu's body was very tall and sturdy, and his complexion was fair. His eyes were as bright as the rising sun, and his teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. His black hair was very fine and curly, and his neck was marked with auspicious lines like those on a conch shell. After being initiated into the performance of the sacrifice, King Prthu took off his royal dress and put on a black deer skin. Then, just to encourage them, King Prthu glanced over all the assembled persons and addressed them in a very grave voice. His speech was very pleasing and poetic, and the meaning, although very deep, was clearly understandable. As Mahāraja Prthu spoke, it appeared that he was expressing his personal realization of the absolute truth for the benefit of all present. King Prthu said, "O gentle members of the assembly, may all good fortune be yours. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of this planet, and I think that by the proper execution of my duties, I will be able to attain the supreme goal of my life. Any king who does not engage his subjects according to the system of Varnashrama, but instead simply exacts taxes from them, is liable to suffer for their impious activities. Therefore, my dear citizens, Please execute your duties properly while thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts, so that you will mercifully benefit your King in this life as well as after death. Please accept my proposal, because after death, the result of an action is shared equally by its doer, its director, and its supporter. It is not that the spectacular variety of living conditions we see have come about by chance. There is a supreme director behind these arrangements, and this is confirmed by all authoritative scriptures. By possessing the inclination to serve the lotus feet of that Supreme Controller, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt that has accumulated in their minds over the span of innumerable births. Thank you. The next part will be continued in the next video.